Am I right to threaten my wife with divorce after she quit her job to become a traditional wife? The author of the post is listed in the description. Me, 34M, and my wife, 33F, have 2 kids together, 11M and 9F. Me and my wife have been together for 12 years and married for 8. Around a year ago, I noticed my wife increasingly sending me these trad wife or traditional housewife TikToks. I have nothing against that type of relationship, but I don't think it makes sense for our current family situation. I do earn quite a bit more than my wife and enough to sustain our family on my own, but I don't see the need to do so. I work 80% and my wife 50%. And besides Wednesdays where the both of us are working, either one of us is always home for the kids. I could work a 100% and let my wife be Sam. But again, both of my kids are attending school, and in my mind, there is no need for my wife to be at home 24/7. She got increasingly pushy about it over the past 2 months. And again, I just kept on telling her that there wasn't any need for that. And if we did decide to go down that route, what would she do during the hours my kids attended school? I know damn well our house doesn't need to be cleaned for 6 hours a day. She would constantly try to butter me up with, "You would have dinner ready every day when coming home from work," and something about unlimited blowjobs or some BS like that. Again, in the nicest way possible, I would remind her that our kids weren't toddlers, and our current work-life schedule allowed us to function perfectly fine. We got into a pretty heated argument 2 weeks ago about it, and my wife completely stopped having sex with me to show me what I would be missing out on. She's basically been treating me like a roommate since. I just thought she would get over it, and this was just a phase. But God, was I wrong. I came home from work yesterday and saw a bunch of presents on the dining table. At first I thought they were all for me since my birthday was in a week, but then I saw the labels on them addressed to my wife. I read one of the letters attached to one of the presents. The last sentence on it was literally, "It was so a pleasure working alongside you, and I wish you all the best moving forwards." I thought this was some sick prank. A few minutes later, my wife just casually strolled into the living room acting like nothing was wrong. I guess she saw my mad expression and had the audacity to tell me that, "You'll get over it." I just lost it. I just left without saying another word and went to my parents' house. I feel absolutely disrespected. Why the fuck would my wife think it was okay to just quit her job without telling me and just expect me to be fine with it? My wife has been bombarding me with texts and calls demanding to know where I am and that the kids miss me. I just told her to go find a lawyer and that I was done with her and then proceeded to block her. My son just sent me a voicemail crying and asking why I was divorcing Mom and if I was leaving the family, and I guess that kind of broke my heart. I haven't responded and honestly don't know what to say to him. My mother-in-law has also been demanding that I return home and apologize to my wife. My parents also seem to be siding with wife since they are traditional Muslims. My mom also used to a Sam. I feel like I'm wrong for immediately jumping to divorce without hearing her out, and besides this whole job drama, love my wife too much for this to be the end of our otherwise perfect marriage. But on the other hand, I feel like I've lost complete trust in her. Should I just swallow my pride and let my wife stay at home from now on? Or should I follow through on divorcing her? How should I navigate this situation? Aita here. Relevant comments. About their religion. Thank you, but we aren't strict Muslims. Yes, we pray, etc., but we don't follow any of the traditional gender role ideologies. My wife tends to be a bit more on the conservative and traditional side, where I am a bit more liberal. And I mean, doesn't the same apply for Christianity? Go back home. I've told my son I'll be home by tomorrow. I'll just be gone for 2 days. There had to have been red flags earlier than this. I mean, before this, the only red flag I saw was her constantly just ignoring me if we had a disagreement, but usually that was for maybe max 2 days. This was the first time she did that for a longer period of time. Crux of the issue. The fact that she would be home relaxing isn't the issue. It's the fact that we now have to significantly cut down on our current expenses, and I'm not even sure if my company is willing to let me work 100%. This exchange, commenter. This tradwife shit is cult-level batshit crazy. The women who are indebted to tradwife culture out of some desire to be more valued and have fewer outside of the home responsibility, and the men who encourage women to become tradwives out of some weird chauvinist nostalgia for the family dynamics of the 40s, 60s, and an insecure need to fully control their wife and household are codependent wrecks and bordering sociopaths, respectively. I feel so bad that you've been hit so hard by this. I imagine it'd be like figuring out one of your parents went down the QAnon rabbit hole, or worse. You should split with her, absolutely. Beyond a certain point, there's no reasoning with these people. Oop. Thank you. But I don't think that this post should spread hate to those who currently were trad wives. It's a completely acceptable type of relationship if both parties agree to it, and that's my primary issue with all of this. Update. First of all, I just want to thank you guys for the overwhelming support I have received. I've received a ton of messages, but please be patient with me. This week has definitely been tough on me. This whole family drama has definitely taken a toll on me physically and mentally. I just want to add a few crucial details that I missed to mention in my original post. I suffer from a genetic heart condition that puts me at risk to stress-induced cardiac arrest. I used to work full-time but was forced to cut down on my work after suffering a silent heart attack. This was nearly a decade ago, but since then, I've worked my own physical and mental well-being. Some people didn't understand me constantly mentioning why it was such an issue working the extra 20%. I honestly don't know how much time I have left, and my kids are the most important things in my life. For my own mental health, it's essential that I get to spend time with my kids throughout the week. Besides my wife and kids, I have nothing. I hate my fucking job and purely continue for the sake of my kids and wife. Well, after spending a day at my parents' house, eventually I felt enough time had passed for me to gather my thoughts on everything. What she did seemed like the ultimate slap in the face, but I went back with the intention to resolve this and didn't want to escalate this fucking nightmare. My wife seemed happy I returned, but wasn't apologetic at all. The kids, especially my son, were ecstatic. That sort of made me ignore the lack of remorse for the time being. That same night, after putting my kids to bed, I told her we need to have a serious discussion. I told her how I felt about everything she did, the fact that she knows about my health condition and still went through with it, the fact that I set clear boundaries and she still chose to quit her job without my consent, how the fact that she told my son that I was going to abandon the family really felt like a stab in the back, how throughout all of this she didn't even seem remorseful once, the fact that she chose her own happiness to the detriment of mine. The fact I sacrificed so much for the family and I got repaid like this. The fact that we now as a family have to make major lifestyle changes since a third of our family income vanished. For a split second, I saw an ounce of sadness in her eyes before she went right back to being annoyed with me. I then simply told her to lay out her half of the story. Here is a summary of what she said. She felt ignored by me, constantly rejecting her proposal. She had worked long enough, and this was finally the time for her to enjoy her life as a true wife. She also said that I was being a baby about the whole spending extra time with the kids thing. That really pissed me off, and we ended up getting into a heated argument. I couldn't bear any of it anymore and just ended up sleeping in the guest room. Until yesterday, nothing changed. She constantly tried to play everything off and wanted to embrace her new role by constantly trying to have sex with me and by making me my favorite dishes. It just felt like she was trying to manipulate me again. I wasn't having any of it. I just kept on sleeping in the guest room. Well, my birthday was yesterday, and after work, my wife and kids picked me up and we ate dinner together. This was probably the first time I genuinely had a smile on my face in a week. Well, that smile vanished because she tried to seduce me again later that night. I rejected her, and to my surprise, she had a full-on mental breakdown. I just held her as she started apologizing for what she did. She claimed she didn't understand how much she hurt me. She was sorry for making me feel like an afterthought, etc. We ended up sleeping in the same bed yesterday. I felt like things were finally moving in the right direction, and I again asked her about searching for a new job today. Instead of getting mad, she just replied with "I need to think about it." Yeah, that's where things are as of today. It feels like progress is being made, but IDK, this just might be another manipulation tactic of hers. I'll probably make a final update in a month or so. Reddit isn't doing my mental health any favors. How would you guys move forward in this situation? Could I have done something better? Is she being genuine? And to those incels who constantly bring up Islam as a way to justify her behavior, please shut the fuck up. Relevant comments. Commenter, if you're still questioning things at this point, respectfully, take your fucking head out of your ass. Oop, I guess you're hinting at divorce. Let me make it more clear for you. In our culture, divorce is the last resort and extremely frowned upon, and especially if there are kids involved. I want to fix this. If she shows no improvement after I've tried everything, yes, then I'll go for divorce. Commenter. She's not even being a good trad wife since they are supposedly meant to put their husband's needs ahead of their own, but she is definitely putting her wants ahead of your needs. It sounds like you really need couples counseling. Oop. She believes my needs solely revolve around sex. That's the problem. Oop. Different comment. She has always been like this. She fucks up or wants something from me =, trying to fuck me 24/7. Commenter. When she came to you with her issue, what did you do to help find a solution? Oop. I constantly told her she can reduce her hours if she wants. That's fine with me. Being at home 24/7 without my consent is where I draw the line. Do you have life insurance? Yeah, I work for an insurance. Couples counseling. Thank you. Couples therapy can definitely help. Alcoholism. Title. I'm going through some family issues and have been noticed myself reaching for the bottle far too often. Life has been terrible for the past week. A lot of family drama and work has been more stressful than ever. I just notice myself reaching for whiskey more often than I usually do. I guess I'm just trying to drown out the misery for the time being. I'm scared I might turn to alcohol more often in the future. As of right now, I'm drinking about 2 glasses of whiskey a day when I get back from work. It used to be 1 glass a week. My gut is telling me to stop, but I feel like a zombie just going through life. I don't have any energy or self-control left. I also have 2 young kids and definitely don't want to set a bad example for them. Is this normal? Should I remove all alcohol from the house immediately, or am I overreacting? What would your guys' first steps be in my case? Relevant comment. Hi, mate. It's hard for me to say if you have a drinking problem or not. I think, deep down, only you can know if something feels wrong or unhealthy about what you're doing. What I will say is that, in my experience, alcohol is a really addictive and sinister substance that can easily take a hold in your life. If you ever feel it's getting out of control or that you want to quit drinking, then remember that there's lots of help out there for you, primarily from your doctor, and also from support groups such as AA. Wishing you all the best, mate. Feel free to message me for a chat if you like. George. Oop. Thank you so much, George. I think I will start to cut down over the coming days. I don't want to take that risk of falling into complete addiction. Wishing you the best as well. And hey, likewise. If you want to talk, I'm a few clicks away. New update. Again. I'm beyond grateful for all the love and support you guys have shown me. If I'm being honest with everyone, I've been drinking a lot to get through this mess. I felt like a zombie just wandering around with no purpose. My wife's actions completely broke me. Thankfully, I've managed to cut most of it out over the past week, and that's mostly thanks to Reddit. You guys seriously helped me keep my mind busy with something else besides alcohol. Being reminded that have 2 smaller versions of myself, looking up to me and learning from the things I do, really helped me snap out of it. I've been at my lowest since making my first post, and I think I've just hit a new low. Until last week, nothing changed since my last post. My wife still pranced around enjoying her new lifestyle while I suffered in silence. After posting my update, I did realize that my wife 100% was trying to manipulate me into submitting to her demands. I asked her if she actually started looking for a job, and she hesitated and told me no, and she needs more time. If I'm being honest, that's all I needed to know from her. I tried making this work, but honest to God, I couldn't keep living like that. Every day that passed felt like a part of my soul vanished. My wife kept on trying to please me, but it didn't seem genuine at all. I've also started noticing her getting lazy and starting to neglect my kids. My wife stopped cooking, and after working 9 hours of hell, I now was the one to help my son with his homework and the one to play Barbie with my daughter. I'm not complaining about spending time with my kids, but I could seriously see this becoming worse as time goes on. I don't know where the woman I once fell in love with went, but that thing that lives with me wasn't her. I know a lot of you are going to smile hearing this, but I did tell my wife that I want a divorce last week. I came home from work and I saw my wife sitting on the couch watching TV while my daughter was crying in her room. I just snapped at that moment. I told we need to have a serious discussion after the kids go to sleep. After I put my kids to sleep, I sat down with her and told her our marriage was over and that I'll be contacting my lawyer tomorrow. Divorce was never something I ever planned on doing in my life, but I just felt like something needed to change or my kids would be visiting my gravesite in a few years. Our culture frowns upon it, and I knew I was about to get serious backlash for it, but at this point, I couldn't care less. I don't know why, but she thought I was joking and started laughing. I told her I was being serious this time and her manipulation methods weren't going to work on me anymore, and her face just went pale. She then went from screaming at me to crying to then blaming me for every issue in the family to then begging for another chance. She literally went to get her laptop and tried to apply for jobs on Indeed while begging. I just told her to cut the bullshit and told her I tried my best, but she just kept giving me empty promises. I told her the following. I know her trying to fuck me just was a manipulation tactic and not to show her devotion to me, as she puts it. If she was truly sorry, why didn't she start applying for jobs immediately instead of waiting until I confronted her? Her completely disregarding any of my feelings and needs while purely perusing her own shows me how selfish she actually is. She knows about my health and still chose to completely fuck me over. And now this part pissed me off a lot. Her poisoning my son against me when this all started was beyond fucked up, and looking back was enough of a reason to divorce her. We ended up fighting for another hour or so, and her constant screaming ended up waking up our daughter, and that's when I told my wife to shut the fuck up and go to bed. The following day, my mom called me during work and asked if I lost my mind or something. My wife told my mom that I was going to divorce her. She claimed that I was bringing serious shame onto the family and she didn't raise me to abandon my kids. Yep, my wife told my mom that I was planning on abandoning my kids and has been feeding my kids the same bees. I explained to my mom the reasons why I wanted divorce, but she won't budge. If I divorce my wife, I'm a disgrace of a man and my mom wants nothing to do with me. I know my mom well enough to tell that her words are just empty threats. But what hurts me most are the reactions of my kids. My son won't look me in the eyes and won't even let me anywhere near his room. My daughter just tries to hit me whenever I try to talk to her. I've tried explaining to them that I'm in fact not going to give up on them, and me and their mom are just going to separate, but they just seem to believe whatever BS my wife tells them. Friends and in-laws also claim that I'm a monster for making my wife go through this. My wife was served with divorce papers 2 days ago and has been crying non-stop since. My wife told my kids about the divorce papers, and they both claim that they will never talk to me again, and in my son's words, I'm a bad husband and father. I cried myself to sleep that night. I thought divorce would bring me peace, but it's only brought me one step closer to taking my life. As I stated in my previous post, I have nothing and am nothing without my kids. Growing up dead poor as a refugee in Germany, I promised myself that I would give my kids a life that I myself could have only dreamed of, but I feel like I've failed. I'm sorry for making this post longer than it has to be. Again, I just want to thank everyone for the love and support, but this will probably be my last post. Wishing you all a lovely week. Relevant comments. Commenter. I'd be showing anyone and everyone your posts, and also look into the custody laws for wherever you live. Also, you have to keep trying to get through to your kids and convince them you're not going anywhere. You are 100% NTA in this situation. Oop. Thank you for the advice, but I feel like that's going to do more harm than good. I feel like they're just going to be mad that I'm sharing my private life with strangers on the internet. On top of that, their English isn't good enough to understand my story anyways. And yes, I've been looking into the ins and outs of custody laws here. Commenter. The best way to get your kids to understand that you are not abandoning them is to go for full custody. You can tell the judge that your wife has no income and no desire to work, and as such, she cannot afford to give your children any kind of stability or decent life. When the children see you fighting for them, they'll realize that you are not abandoning them, only their mother who wants to coast through life on your dime. Oop. Thank you, but I seriously fear that I won't get any custody due to me working near full time. Commenter. And how would your wife support herself and the kid now she don't have any job either? She may have time for the kids, but no money at all to support them. And your argument of the first post still work. Your child are grown and go full-time to school. They don't need you to be at home 24/7. Oop. These would roughly be my child support payments monthly, on top of alimony IDK. Still have to look into it more. One of people in my team was only given weekend visitation due to him working full-time, so that's where I got the fear from, so yeah. Need to continue consulting my lawyer for more info. Commenter. Date outside your culture. Oop. It's not about culture. This can happen in any culture. Yes, the things my mom and my in-laws are saying about me are because of the culture. There is a lot of beauty in my culture, but also a lot of ugly. I just don't want to deal with the stress of divorce ever again, and I've never really dated. My wife was my first real girlfriend, so dating seems a bit overwhelming to me. And again, I just want peace, not more problems. If I die alone, so be it. Commenter: you are an idiot. Take your kids and get out. Stop leaving them with her. Oop. Do you want me to take them with me to the office? And they currently don't want anything to do with me. I took a week off work to maybe go on a trip with my kids to help them relax during this mess, but they just refused to leave my wife's side and claim I'm a monster. Commenter: you working FT is what will get you custody. You can afford to house, feed, and clothe your kids. Start the paper trail. Communicate with your STBX only by text. Use Reddit search for FU binder. Make one religiously and backups. Have a plan for after-school care for the kids. That's the last part that will show you're 100% ready for full custody. Don't give up. Your kids need you. You need you alive. Big hugs and keep updating us, please. OP. Depends. Government could argue that me just paying my wife alimony and child support and me maybe getting weekend visitation would be a better option. Nothing is definitive. I'm still researching what the most likely outcome would be and preparing my finances accordingly, in response to several longer, encouraging comments telling OOP to seek help and that they're worried about him. Thank you. It's hard battling these thoughts, but I know that I'm only going to hurt my family doing it. OOP clarifies on one point. I know a lot of people assume this, but we used to split chores. If I was home, I did most of the cooking, cleaning, etc., and on weekends my wife cooked and I did the chores. Parental alienation. Thank you for bringing that up to my attention. I'll have to look into that where I live. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't exist here, but I'll be researching it regardless. Postnup so you can keep your money? Thank you for the advice, but I'm not worried about giving her half of my assets. When we both got together, we were both flat broke. She helped me achieve the things I've achieved so far in my career. That's why I married her in the first place, because I thought she would be with me through thick and thin, but yeah, people change. As far as alimony is concerned, I'm not sure. Might be around 2-3K a month for both kids if she gets primary custody of them. OOP clarifies alimony versus child support. I'm sorry, English isn't my first language. Yeah, I meant to say child support. As far as alimony is concerned, I don't really care. I just want this nightmare to end. Do you live in Germany now? I live in Switzerland. Yeah, but courts here still rule in favor of the woman. Okay, next story. The women at my job made a list of the hottest guys and left me off of it. So here's the deal. I 21-year work at a store part-time while I'm attending classes. There are a total of 21 of us who work at this store, 13 girls, 8 guys, and we're all around the same age. We have a pretty good working atmosphere, no open hostility so far I know, and everyone gets along well and jokes around with everyone. Though I will say the guys and girls do tend to stick together more. As for me, I'm fairly well liked by everyone. I try and be pleasant to everyone I work with because who needs an asshole coworker? Unfortunately, here's where things go bad. One of the guys who work us Christy M is dating one of the girls in the store, Ashley. Chris was apparently BSing on her phone when he came across the girls' group chat. He said it was mostly girl talk, but he found a list ranking all of the guys in the store by their hotness. He had a laugh about it and screenshotted it to send to our group chat. Everyone saw it and had a laugh at the rankings. The guy at the top, Chad Tal Mem, kept sending crown emojis. Then everyone noticed I wasn't there. I didn't look at the chat till later since I was with my parents at the time and had it on mute. When I saw I wasn't on the list, it was like I was slapped across the face. And the worst part of this? The list was out of 10, and they included the 3 delivery guys who drop off stuff and some of the girls flirt with. This crushed me, in a way I don't think I've ever been crushed before. It's like, damn, I'm that much of a hideous monster that I'm not worthy of being ranked. I spent the rest of my day being miserable and not talking to anyone. When I wasn't responding to the chat, the guys all tried to hit me up individually, but I didn't respond. I looked into the chat, and the guys were starting to be pissed on my behalf, which I definitely didn't want. I decided to call in sick the next day, and when I didn't show up, apparently, it all came out into the open. The girls at the store started messaging me, apologizing to me, and making all kinds of excuses. Quite frankly, I didn't care. I decided to face the music the next day and suck it up at work. When I walked into work, the atmosphere was a lot more tense than it usually was. Becky Prov, who is the assistant manager and was on the group chat, pulled me to the side and asked if we could talk. I said okay. She apologized on behalf of everyone in the chat and said that the list was not serious. It was girl talk and not meant to be seen outside the chat. She said that everyone, especially the women at the store, like me for far more valuable things than simply how I look, and that if it were a list of nicest guys in the store, I'd be #1. I couldn't help but feel like this was damage control and being friend-zoned all in one motion. I said thank you, but I'm past it and I don't want anyone's pity, and I went about my day. Of course, I did end up getting that pity with a lot of the guys coming over to talk to me and some of the girls as well. I got so fed up I went to the manager and asked to go home early. She agreed because she kind of knew what was going on. This was all about 5 days ago, and since then everyone at the store has been trying to get me to talk, but I haven't gone back. I don't want pity and I don't want sympathy. If they think I'm ugly, then fine, but don't try and justify it or make me feel better about it. The reason I'm here is because I need advice on how to navigate the situation at my job and with my friends. How do I tell everyone to basically leave me alone and not pity me? Because honestly, I'm leaning towards just quitting. Edit. Hey everyone, I'm reading your comments and I thank everyone for their input, the tough love and all. I just wanted to pop in here and say one thing. I didn't feel entitled to them thinking I was hot. I don't feel entitled to sex or whatever from them. I'm not a nice guy or an incel. The reason I was upset is because them leaving me off the list for relative strangers felt pretty cruel and messed up. I don't know how to describe it. Like, it guess it sucks I'm not attractive to them, but being left off entirely felt like a step too far. Relevant comments. Commenter, so sorry that happened to you, Op. I hope those girls all get a reprimand of some kind. That was not okay and HR should have been involved. In all seriousness, your looks do not dictate who you are or your value. Without seeing a photo, no one else can judge either. So let's make a new list. 1. You're friendly and open to valued communication. 2. You have handled your emotions well and empathetic. 3. You're clearly working and driven. 4. You set a boundary and stuck to it. You're a good human. That's pretty top-notch in my book. Looks fade. Nasty dispositions usually don't. Oop. Wow. Okay, seriously, thank you. This really got to me. You have a way with words, friend. I hope someone makes your day like you made mine. Commenter. Rooting for you, kid. I am actually ugly and have always been left out of all those kinds of lists and discussions. It sucks, it's hard. But you're smart and strong. Hope you find a kinder workplace. Oop. I don't mean this in an empty, nice way, but you're not ugly, friend. The world just doesn't see your beauty. I hope you find your peace. Commenter. That fucking sucks. The guy who was at the top was named Chad? That's almost too perfectly coincidental to be real. There's nothing left to do except quit and find a new job and forget any of those people existed. Ooh, I've seen this a couple times now. It's just a fake name, LOL. As in, he's a Chad for being at the top of the list. Update. Hey everyone! I'm back and boy do I have an update for you. I can't believe this situation exploded so much. There was a fight, arrests, and I think someone might be getting divorced. Okay, not really. People wanted to know how I was doing, so I decided I'd just make an update. I just wanted to clear up a few things. First, I didn't care necessarily if they found me ugly or whatever. I just felt like being left off the list was a deliberate slap in the face. I didn't or don't feel entitled to anything. Next, the manager of the store, Barb, was not involved in the group chat in any way. She's a 38-year-old married woman with 2 kids who is far too busy trying to get us to stop smoking weed behind the store on our breaks. What I meant to say is that she was made aware of the situation after it was brought to her attention. Third, I wasn't aware of the list right away. I was with my parents and wasn't paying attention to the chat. Now, after reading the comments on the first thread, I decided that while I could be upset that I was deemed unattractive, I probably shouldn't care as much I did. I kind of wanted to discover why not being on the list hurt me so much. So I took my sister's advice and will be seeking a therapist. Funny enough, my grandpa has a saying that came to mind when reading the comments in the first thread. Whenever my dad or his brothers and sisters would be upset about something, my grandpa would tell them, I didn't get wounded in the Aya Drang Valley so you could sit there and cry about X. The X could be anything. The point is, he was telling them to toughen up. It became a joke among my aunts and uncles that passed down to my cousins, so I could hear my grandpa telling me in head, I didn't get wounded in the Ayadrang Valley so you could sit there and cry about some girls thinking you're ugly. And that got me up a bit. I was still feeling kinda shitty, but I decided to put on a brave face and tell my manager I'd come into work the next day after posting the thread. As soon as I walked in, the manager took me to her office and said the owner of the store wanted to see me. I wasn't really worried since I had a good relationship with Carl, who was the owner. Carl told me he heard about the story and he was sorry about everything. He said the list was childish and unprofessional, and he was sorry I had to take time off to deal with it. He said the girls all got a strong reprimand and a stern warning that this wouldn't be tolerated in the future. He also suspended Becky because he said she should have not been in the chat to begin with, and if she was, she should stop the list stuff. He also emphasized that he told everyone that he hadn't talked to me yet, and that he wasn't punishing anyone because I asked for it. He also said he'd pay me for the shifts I missed as a bit of compensation for the mental distress. I thanked him and told him I was over it pretty much right away. I just hated having everyone think I needed coddling and wanted everything to cool down. With that, we shook hands and I started my day. Everyone welcomed me back and I said hey to everyone. I went to my locker and found a letter slipped inside. It was a handwritten letter from all the girls. I'll summarize here because the list was long. In it, they apologized profusely for the chat and the list. They said that nothing was going to make it right or make me believe them, but they wanted to say once again the list was non-serious and meant to be some stupid fun, and no one was meant to see it. They said that they all loved me individually, that I was a good person, and that makes me more attractive than most people who are considered hot. Interestingly, they said I was considered cute. Okay, then LOL. I flagged down one of the girls on shift who I get along with really well, Sam20F, to tell the group that I accept their apology. I told her to tell them that I got over it pretty much right away, that I just took time off because I wanted the situation to die down, and that I didn't take anything personally. Also, I told her that I'm sorry that anyone got in trouble. I didn't talk to the Barb or Carl about anything until today. I didn't want this to become an issue at all. Unfortunately, the guys made it an issue on my behalf. Sam apologized again and told me she'd tell everyone. And that's that. Sorry if this was not the explosive post you all were looking for. I just wanted to get this situation resolved as soon as possible and put behind me so that I and everyone else can move on. I'm thinking about not returning next semester, however. So thanks all. I appreciate your comments and helping me get through this little episode in my life. How do you like these stories? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel. Love you.